War is afoot. Back once again with another episode of the Doomed Review, and we are still reviewing House of Dragons.
House of Dragons, House of the Dragon, correct.
Whatever.
Episode 6, which is called The Princess and the Queen. Yes, we are back.
I would like to rename this episode. Here's a cool character, boom, dead. Oh, here's a cool character, boom, dead.
Yeah, here's a lot of new characters, and boom, some of them are dead. Yeah, I mean, the show continues to move at a quick pace, similar to the book. That was like the big criticism of Game of Thrones at the end, that it was moving so quickly. It didn't feel realistic. I don't know. What's your take so far on how quickly the show moves and how it feels compared to Game of Thrones, not knowing the book story, so you don't have that aspect of it?
Right. So since I don't know the book story, this is just a story in progress. The first time around watching, so I didn't watch Game of Thrones when it came out originally. I think I binged it right before, like, the first 5 seasons, and then watched 6 and 7 and 8 live or whatever it was. So I didn't really have like an opinion on it until like the second time around. You know what I'm saying? So it's progressing. I could see, though, like, if I didn't have you or like people who are interested in Game of Thrones and stuff like that, I could see people saying this is going too fast. I don't understand. Like if you're really not paying attention, like if you're watching just to watch, last episode they were kids, and now this episode they're new people. And some of the people that were cast, I think, are great or whatever. I could see how people would be confused or upset and not like it.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
It's going too fast.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. If you're just kind of like a casual viewer who's not paying attention, it can definitely be a little bit overwhelming and you get lost in what's going on.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who's like me, who like is living in Westeros while this is going on, you enjoy every second of it. So it's like,
10 years is a big jump. Big jump.
And that's where we start. It has been 10 years now since the previous episode where they, Laenor and Rhaenyra get married. And we start off with the birthing scene, which is just, my God, another just extremely uncomfortable scene for me, at least. We had the first episode of the show was had the birthing scene of Emma Targaryen, and now we have Rhaenyra, who's older. Emma D'Arcy is playing Rhaenyra now, and she's giving birth to another child. As soon as the baby's born, the Queen Alicent asks to see the baby. That was uncomfortable, man. Like that, not knowing, like, why does she want to see the baby immediately or right after it's born? That whole thing was uncomfortable. What'd you think?
Yeah, it was. And I mean, her father instilled this, we always say, like, when you're training a dog or something, like, you got to install the fear of God in them. You know what I mean? Like, and her father installed the fear of God, the 7 gods in her. Yeah. And like, she took it to heart. Like, this is it. When she becomes in power, she's going to kill my children. So I need to do everything I can do to prepare them to be king for when this battle comes.
Yeah. And I mean, again, like this scene, I felt anxiety as Rhaenyra is like walking to the Queen, and it's a great shot. I don't know if you noticed, like it's a rolling shot, most of it, where her and Laenor are walking through the Red Keep. They did a great job on like the set. It's all practical. They built up an actual inside of the Red Keep. Rhaenyra's walking there like right after she just gave birth. You don't know exactly what's going to happen. People are around. It's Game of Thrones, right? Like there was a lot of anxiety for me. I thought it was a great scene. They get to the Queen, and you could see the Queen knows something's up.
Yeah.
Right. Something's going on.
Everybody knows something's up except for the king. He's the only one not in on it, man.
Yep. So the Queen Alicent, she makes a comment to Laenor about like, oh, well, I hope, next time it looks like
They'll
you.
look like you. Yeah.
Yeah. So right again, like right off the bat, we know something's up. And Rhaenyra's children, they all have dark black hair, so it's obvious, right, that it ain't Laenor. We know Laenor's gay from the last
and
episode.
then briefly I thought it was Cole, Kristen Cole. And
that's the thing too, right? You're not sure, right? It's been 10 years, and the very next scene, then we find out Rhaenyra meets with I believe his name's Harold Strong, I think.
Here's a cool character. Boom, dead.
And he looks cool, right? He's like your typical like strong.
He's
male
your knight in
lead.
armor. Jon Snowish type,
alpha male. Sort of thing. So we right away, we the viewer find out, it's him. Rhaenyra found another paramour and loves him, and Laenor seems cool with it. He seems like a pretty chill dude. After this,
what I don't
go ahead.
So what I wanted to ask you, Laenor and Rhaenyra had this agreement that they would fulfill their duty and eat at their own tables, as they were talking about last time. Why? I thought that meant like you're gonna have to nut up and bang me and put a baby in me, and then when we have a baby or two that looks like you, we could stop this bullshit and you could go about your way and I could go about my way. Not, I'm gonna have somebody that drastically doesn't look like you pop out, not one, not two, but 3 kids now, and we're just gonna play this game of charades.
Yeah, that would have been the smart move, I guess you say, in Westeros to do.
Nut up once or twice and just do it.
As we'll see as we get to the end of this, there's a great quote, and love factors in here, right? So while that sounds great in theory, you fall in love with someone, you want to have kids with them, not with someone who you're like politically arranged.
But I get it, but in the last episode, this is my because remember, she was asked to run away and her response was, this is my duty. And she had this conversation with Laenor. This is our duty. This is our responsibility. The responsibility of Laenor is to put a baby in her until she has a firstborn son. Well, and it didn't even matter, because if they had a daughter, she would have been queen. Just like the king said, whatever the sex is,
would have been any kid. Right. They should just have a kid.
That's all they needed to do, was have one half white, half black baby with blonde or white hair. And then you could have banged every brunette, husky Wolverine looking dude throughout all of Westeros. It wouldn't have mattered anymore. You just had to do this once.
I agree.
And they couldn't get it done.
I agree, but that's the story, and that's what makes it interesting. She's a flawed character, right? She's not perfect. They make mistakes. And this is, as you can see, everything has been planting the seeds for like conflict and strife later as it go on. And the very next scene we'll get into is, we're kind of introduced now to Aegon finally, for real. And he's a young teenager. He's really a prick, as we could see. He is with his brothers, and they are like bullying one of the younger brothers, Aemon, his name is, who doesn't have a dragon. They bring out a pig, and they call the pink dread, a play on the black dread, Valerion.
I thought that was a great scene. I think it's great that with this House of Dragons and seasons to come, we are really going to get an education on dragons. And dragons was one of the coolest parts of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, definitely.
And we see it with the eggs and trying to hatch the eggs and keep them warm and training dragons. And, and the scene where the goat gets burnt was pretty brutal. I'm surprised nobody complained about that. But Game of Thrones directors, set design, whoever, get it through your goddamn skull. I get it. There was no fucking electricity, but not every room needs to be pitch black dark.
I agree.
I cannot stand this anymore. Just because they lived by candlelight doesn't mean you shoot the scene by candlelight.
Yeah, give everybody a torch to walk around with and use that as a rationale to how they could see everything very well.
It does. It's a non-existent place in a non-existent time period. Let there be light.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely, some of the scenes are too dark in any of these shows nowadays. It seems to be just a thing. So there's a couple scenes we'll kind of maybe go through quickly. The Queen basically tells Viserys basically what's going on to an extent, right? She kind of knows, something's going on here. It's definitely not the children. We kind of get like a vibe that Alicent does care about like the proper way of doing things in Westeros. It's not necessarily all about power. I think that has a little bit to do with her being like from Old Town, and they're like very strong in the ways of the Seven.
And her scene with her Aegon, right? That's how you say it.
Yeah, Aegon. Yeah.
First off, jerking off out a window on top of a castle.
Yep.
Now one of my bucket list items.
Yep. Is that the same window that Tommen jumped out of? I hope so.
Maybe.
This adds to the whole allure of the whole thing. Yep. So real quick, that's a great
conversation she had was great. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Okay,
was because finally in the Game of Thrones, it's all talking in secret and in code. She wore the green dress to signal, for her men to bear arms, whatever it was, blah, blah, blah. It's all this passive aggressive nonsense. Mm-hmm. And she just took this kid by the face and said, because you are alive, your life is in danger. You are the chat, like plain and simple, like, and it was refreshing to see like some idiot character get like a straight up wake up call. There's no, oh, I didn't know, or oh, I'm not going to be a chat. Like he was just, I'm not going to be a challenge.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Breath is coming out of you. You are the challenge. Doesn't matter if you want it or not.
Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely. That was a scene straight out of the book too. I remembered it as it was occurring, him being, I won't challenge her, and her being like, no, this is Westeros, right? You're going to be the challenge because you exist. And this is probably what's going to happen. Like you've seen that over the years with so many other characters who like live in some sort of la la land.
Yeah.
Or like, we don't say what needs to be said. And that even happens in this episode.
But I guess that could be like a Hightower trait, because her father said it to her.
Yeah.
You're not friends anymore. She's going to kill your children. She has to. And she's saying it to her children. You are the challenge. Like it's something in the Hightower family lineage to like straightforward.
Yeah. He even told the king straight up, about the whole thing with Daemon. All right. They just tell you that as it is. So there is something to that. It's definitely something, something honorable, I guess you could say. And there's something to it as well, because theoretically, if you just want to go by like the rules of Westeros, none of the kids of Rhaenyra are really like Targaryens for the most part.
Yeah.
They're half Targaryen because she's a Targaryen, but they're really not. Like Targaryens are supposed to be like 2 Targaryens marry, have more Targaryens. Yeah. Now you have literally heirs to the throne who all have black hair, so they don't even look like Targaryens.
They said that in a part later on, and I'm sure we'll get to the scene. Oh, they're going to marry off one of their children with no attractable features or something like that.
Yeah.
Meaning no white hair and no blonde hair.
Right. So like, how do you expect the Lords of Westeros to choose those people, those kids over Aegon and the other blonde haired Targaryens? Like it looks like Aegon and them are supposed to be the heirs to the throne, whereas everybody else doesn't. So after this, man, we go, I don't remember this from the books that much, but we go to Pentos, which is across the Narrow Sea, and Daemon is there with Laena. They have kids now. Pretty cool scene, man. We see Vhagar for the first time. Mm-hmm. The oldest dragon. Yes.
Oh, what an awesome, cool dragon.
Yeah. Vhagar is the oldest dragon, was around when Balerion and Aegon the Conqueror came to Westeros. It was one of the 3 dragons. Originally, it's still
one
alive.
Of the largest.
Yeah, one of the largest alive in the moment.
Which is awesome.
And the oldest looked cool, looked old and wise. I thought that was pretty cool.
Marvel needs to take a page out of the book. Like if they can make this dragon look like this, you can make the She-Hulk look a lot better.
Yeah, so definitely. Would I agree with you 100% there. So Daemon is kind of like living in self-exile. And I find it interesting because he's kind of like, I'm just so done with Westeros and their drama and bullshit. He's like, the Prince Ruggiero here, like, we got dragons, he's got gold. It's simple, it works. Let's not complicate things.
My fandom for him is getting complicated because he's such an all over the place guy. He really is. I mean, there's that meme of the fish walking into the Krusty Krab, kicking the door open, and it's like Daemon walking into the Red Keep every time he's been kicked out, just kicking in the door and walking in and saying hello to everyone. He's just such this tortured soul that gets everything he wants and doesn't want any of it, and it's kind of getting annoying. And like even now, like he got the wife he wanted, and we got to see her for a whole 20 minutes. Here's a cool character, boom, dead. He's got the family. He doesn't pay attention to the family. He was made some comment to one of the waiters, so now I'm wondering if he's also banging dudes now.
I didn't even
If you
catch
saw
that.
that very first scene before, what's the guy who offered him the invitation? When they were sitting down eating, he said something.
Ruggiero?
Yeah, he said something to the waiter that we don't get to see. But so that rose my suspicion. And yeah, now he's just living this weird life. He's like this ultimate warrior, but now he's just reading books to his kids. One of his kids feels like he doesn't like him. Like, just this storyline is all over the place.
He's a walking contradiction. That's his character, right? He is literally a walking contradiction. And there's a great scene in there where she tells him, like, you don't care about like the Valerian history and the history of your family, but you spend all night like reading the books and like learning about High Valerian stuff. Like everything he does, to a sense, to like throughout the entire season so far, has been a contradiction. To one, he gets with Rhaenyra like almost what he wants, and he runs away like as soon as he's about to. Like for the most part, everything he gets to become like a king of the Narrow Sea, he gives up his crown. Like everything he does is always a contradiction. That's kind of his character. It's unique. It's different. We haven't really seen that often, so I'm enjoying it. I think what happens in this episode also is going to provide more motivation for him going forward, or like kind of continue building and developing his character arc in a way. So after this, we go back to the Red Keep, and we're in the courtyard. All the kids are training there. They're sparring, and Sir Kristen Cole's kind of like in charge of the training. And then Sir Harold, right? Harold
Strong
comes in and kind of gets into a little disagreement with him, how like hard he's training them. He ends up making the kids fight each other. Then they end up getting into a fight again. It seems like Sir Kristen Cole just, every episode now he's going to get into a fist fight with someone. Yeah, man.
So do you think Sir Kristen Cole was, because he's done a 180 now and he hates Queen or Princess Rhaenyra.
Yep.
And like he's adamant like that he just does not like her. Do you think he was training her kids less, so maybe they would die in battle? And
100%. He's a simp. He's a simp. He's this is who he is.
Fuckboy simp.
He's a fuckboy simp. And he's heartbroken now. What did he call her earlier in the episode? Like a cunt or something like that. He called Rhaenyra. So he's still pretty heartbroken. Definitely, he's training them less. In this whole fight, and Strong, fighting him now pretty much outs to everyone. Everyone's there in the courtyard and sees it like, oh shit, they are his children most likely, and this kind of sets in motion what's to come here for the the rest of the episode and whatnot. Next, we go to Rhaenyra also kind of finds out that this went down, and you see Strong and his father kind of debating,
arguing,
over it. And he makes a good point. He's like, what you've done here, you're done. Like they're gonna kill you if anybody really finds this out, or this gets out in the open. And that's really like the whole theme of this episode is like people choosing love and that sort of thing over duty and whatnot. Also, another scene I thought was pretty funny. Laenor is blackout drunk, basically. Comes in with his buddy. He wants to leave and go to war. And then, Rhaenyra kind of shows how she's a totally different character now, 10 years later. She's like, no, if you're not going to like listen to me, I'm just going to command you, what to do. So she's not like some young girl anymore who's like, whatever. Like she is pretty tough. Yeah,
she's stronger. She's definitely stronger. She's a strong character through and through. Even, popping out a kid and just walking. Was
the stairs. I thought Laenor had a pretty good line here where he says, the wise sailor flees the storm as it gathers. Pretty smart thing that'll come up later too. Let's see, what else do I got? Picked up that Daemon in the next scene. He ain't dumb. He knows that something's going down in King's Landing. When he got word that another baby was born, he immediately knows like, she's fucking around still.
Yeah,
definitely. Let's see. After that, Rhaenyra is in the small council meeting. This I think was another,
man, this was that you saw on their face like this could have been an email.
Yeah, this could have been an email meeting. So she makes actually what I thought pretty good opportunity, right? Pretty good, offer. And she's kind of like, this is kind of like her last ditch move here, I guess, to make peace. And she knows now that the secret's out about her kids. She offers Alicent, I'll marry my oldest son, who's the heir to the throne, to your youngest daughter. We'll join the houses. We make peace. when my dragon also has some, lays no more eggs.
Yep.
You'll get to pick whichever one you want for your kid Aemond, who doesn't have a dragon. Pretty good deal.
Yes.
In a logical world, we shake hands, everybody goes home happy, and we don't end up incinerating each other in war later on. But
I gotta say though, if I was Rhaenyra, I would have been acting very different to the queen, because this is where you could really just see, just no matter what, we're gonna butt heads.
Two strong-headed women.
Yep. If you say we're going left, my position is to go right.
Yeah.
If I say we're going north, your position is automatically to go south. You could, whatever the topic of discussion was, they were going to be on opposite sides. And it was just so catty, so ridiculous. And even with this offer, like, your daughter can be queen, your son can get his dragon. No.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to go too much into it because I'm going to sound like a misogynist or something like that, but that's how women operate sometimes. Next scene after this, Lionel Strong, the Hand of the King, decides, fuck this shit, I'm out. I'm gonna resign. And it's because he knows also now that this is what's going on. King Viserys says no. This scene also basically confirms, because she's there, Alicent now, she knows 100% that she's been right this whole time. Yeah. Why else would he be resigning his hand to the king and not want to say why? It's because he doesn't want to make things worse. A little bit different from her father, obviously, who would say the hard truth to the king, so he'd have to hear it. This guy won't. Yeah. And he asks, King Viserys, I'm going to go back to Harrenhal, put my son there now, as the Lord. I won't resign, but I'll go there, and that's going to have some implications later on in the episode. After this, man,
it was a good. The next scene is what confused me. Is that the scene where she's sitting down with Strong's other
Larys,
son?
The schemer, the little finger of the show.
Yeah, he just popped up in this odd time and is eating dinner by himself in the queen's chambers, and I'm just like, are they banging? Is he her spy? I guess that's what it really is. He's her spy, and he is I think his goal is if he's on her side, then when her son becomes king, quote unquote king, he'll be declared, oh, my father was a great hand of the king, I will be the new hand of the king, and advise your son the way I've advised you.
Yeah, it could be. I think, in the last episode when they were in the courtyard and they had their first scene together, I think he's basically realized he's not a dumb guy. This Larys Strong, the clubfoot, as they call him. He's basically realized Alicent doesn't really have many allies. I'll be the ally. This is how I'm gonna roll the dice. And if my gamble here pays off, then I'm gonna be rewarded. Definitely. Him seeing there's gonna be conflict in the future. He's got some sort of, he knows what the deal is. He knows this ain't gonna last forever. There's gonna be conflict. People are gonna die. Sides are gonna be, one side's gonna win, one side's gonna lose. He just immediately decides which side he's going to be on. That's a great point, by the way, I think you made, that he probably does think he could be Hand of the King in the future to Aegon or whoever. He'll be a trusted advisor after all this time. So let's see. He then goes to meet with criminals in the black cells, and he cuts their tongues out, and they're just brutal scene.
Yes.
You also see on his club his symbol, which is like a beetle. It's going to factor in pretty importantly later on as well.
Man, I thought it was a guy from Jurassic Park.
Oh, yeah, kind of, yeah. What'd you think about the guys losing their tongues, man? Oof.
Oh, that was a tough scene to watch, especially the hot metal.
Yeah. Oh, my God. But they did that, I guess, so that they can't speak.
Yeah. It's smart. It's smart. But oh, man, one or two of them should have been no, I'll take the gallows, please.
Yeah. I don't know, man. A tough decision. Yeah, lose your tongue or just be killed. I don't know. It's rough. After that, Lena, we'll go back to Pentos with Daemon and Lena. And she is ready now to give birth to another baby. Apparently, it ain't happening. It ain't working. And it ain't easy in Westeros when you can't give birth. They basically present Daemon with the same choice that King Viserys had in the first episode. We could do a C-section. Most likely, everyone's going to die. What do you want to do? And this is pretty dope.
Cool character.
Yeah.
Boom, dead.
Yeah. But at the same time, man, earlier in the episode, Lena's like, I'm a dragon rider. I want to be a dragon rider. I want to go out to death. A dragon rider goes out. So she basically just like walks out of the room, goes to Vhagar and asks Vhagar to burn her alive. The death of a dragon rider.
Pretty
We've
brutal
complained
death.
a lot about like woke shit in shows, right? This show has done like strong women doing cool shit perfectly. There was nothing woke about that. That was a woman who was pretty cool, wanted to go out the right way. That's it. She went out on her own terms, and it plays back into like the birthing bed is the woman's battlefield in a sense, like almost quite literally throughout this entire show.
Yeah.
It has been. You're seeing like stuff happening, like battles occur when women are giving birth to like their children. So I think it's done like a good job of making a strong woman story, not distracting or anything in any way. What do you think?
I mean, Allison's story is interesting. Rhaenyra's story is interesting. She was a cool character that I was excited to get to know, and gone. So
yeah. After this, Harold, he's out. He's heading back to
yes.
He says his goodbyes.
And I liked how the criminals had their tongues tied to their cloaks.
Yes. Yeah, to their cloaks.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty gruesome. You also see that the kids have even figured it out at this point that Harold Strong is so like no, everyone knows at this point, right? If the kids can figure it out, everyone knows. And this is where Rhaenyra comes to the courtyard. She meets with Laenor and she just tells him, I've been undermined. Time to pack up our shit. Gonna head to Dragonstone. And if you're familiar with like the lore of Game of Thrones and Targaryens, when you head to Dragonstone, shit's about to get real. That's where like the air goes like before they prepare for war. So Daenerys did it in Game of Thrones, right? Where did she go when she was getting ready for war on Westeros?
Yeah, Dragonstone.
Jon Snow's real father, Rhaegar, he was at Dragonstone before the war with Robert Baratheon. So like that's where you go when a Targaryen goes to like dig in and get ready to do what they got to do. After this is strong as they go back to Harrenhal, they're sleeping, and boy, what a horrible way to go. The castle gets burned down, father and son burned alive. Pretty gruesome.
Yeah, a lot of death by fire. Here's a cool character, dead.
Yeah.
So
that was kind of the theme of this episode. Here's a cool character, now they're dead. And they're dead. And now the last scene. Well, there's a really cool scene of Rhaenyra and everybody getting to Dragonstone, and you're seeing all of Dragonstone, the whole family in one shot. That was a pretty dope scene. And then again, we get to kind of the end here, and Lara Strong delivers again the line of the week. I didn't really even catch this because it was kind of low in terms of sound, but as Rhaenyra and everybody are like walking up to Dragonstone, it's Lara Strong giving like a speech kind of in the background or saying a line. And what he says here is, what are children but a weakness, a folly, a futility? Through them you imagine you cheat the great darkness of its victory, and you will persist in some form or another as they will keep you from the dust. But for them you surrender what you should know. You may know what is right. You may know what is the right thing to be done, but love stays the hand. Love is a downfall, best to make your way through life unencumbered, he says. What did you think about that before I get into it a little bit deeper? Because I thought it was a line of the...
Go for it. I didn't really catch it the way you caught it. So
he's making a similar point that Game of Thrones made with Jon Snow. If you remember, this is a while ago now, Maester Aemon, another Targaryen, at the Night's Watch tells Jon Snow this little quote here. He says, "Tell me, do you ever wonder why the men of the Night's Watch take no wives and father no children?" Jon Snow says, "No." He says, Maester Aemon says, "So they will not love. Love is the death of duty. If a day should ever come when your Lord Father was forced to choose between honor on the one hand and those he loves on the other, what would he do?" So Lara Strong here is making essentially the same point. Love is the death of duty. When you're in love, you end up choosing love over duty or like the right thing to do.
And that's what everyone's been doing.
Yes. And that's the theme of the episode, essentially the theme of the show so far. In terms of himself, man, he just killed his father and his brother.
Yeah.
So he, does he love them? No, he just did what was good for him in a sense.
He's one of those characters that is like hand built for the actual Game of Thrones. Kill anybody, screw over anybody, spy, lie, cheat, and steal. He'd do great in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, he would, without a doubt. I think this also plays into the larger like theme of Game of Thrones and going back to the original show and Jon Snow. The love is the death of duty thing was actually kind of disproven in the end by Jon Snow. He did what he did because, like, even though he loved people, he loved Daenerys, he loved Ygritte, he still ended up doing the right thing in almost every scenario, kind of like disproving that narrative that the show was always putting forward. And I think it's interesting because if you're looking like 1,000 times deeper into this shit than most people are, I feel like the show is trying to kind of like recapture some of Jon Snow's magic leading into his spin-off show later on. So like there's all these little hints and things that they keep putting in here. Maybe it'll play in later. I don't know. We'll see.
Who knows?
Yeah, man. So that's it. What do you want to rate it? What'd you think?
I am going to give it a 7. It was entertaining. They killed some people I was interested in, so you can't get a solid 10 that way. It was a good building episode. Good. It was another good Game of Thrones episode, but I'm ready for another battle scene soon. Yeah, it just 7 also because like everybody realizes what Rhaenyra is doing except the king, and I actually really like him. You know, he's, you know, I don't want to review Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones at the same time because I'll be messing them up. But, you know, they cast Gollum as the king 10 years down the road.
Down the road, yeah.
But I think this is great. This series is probably the best thing that's out right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I'm going to also give it a 7, man. I thought it was really good. I liked it. It was very loyal to the book. But I do think there's some criticism in terms of like a lot of characters do die as soon as you like get to know them. There's a lot of characters introduced. If you're like not someone watching that deeply, you're not going to be able to remember them all. So I like that they're paying attention to the book and staying very loyal. But sometimes you do have to make changes in order for like a show to be more palatable to like a wider audience. But I like it. But maybe not to everybody else. It might not be palatable.
I've been studying the characters' names, and then a new character comes up, and I look up their name so I could try and remember it for the review and all that stuff. And then they're dead 15 minutes later.
Before you could even find out what they're called, they're dead.
Yeah. Learn any bit of their story, and they're gone.
I do want to say, man, you made a great point earlier today when we were texting. Like the casting has been fantastic in the show. And it is such a difficult show to cast people for because times change so quickly in so many episodes. They've done a great job at like picking actors to play the roles.
The guy who plays Sir Laenor, right? That's his name.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's related to the kid that they had cast before him. Because like that was like, I wonder if they were like, we need 2 actors that are brothers 10 years apart from each other, something like that.
Maybe.
And he looks pretty, I think he looks better as the future Laenor than the past and present Rhaenyra.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely. Yeah, he does look almost identical to it. But again, that is very difficult to do. I wouldn't be surprised, like I was telling you earlier today, if they don't win some sort of award for like casting, like the casting department wins an award for the show because it is difficult and they've done a good job. Not only do you have to look like the character, but you have to be able to act. Otherwise, it ain't going to be good.
And you have to act with, you know, when an actor gets a role, they get into a headspace of the character. And now this one actress has been setting the headspace and the personality for this character for 6 episodes now. Now a new person has to show up and take on that headspace and personify the older version of that character.
It is not an easy job. Yeah. That's it. We'll be back for episode 7. Probably next Monday or Tuesday. Catch us there.
Yep. All right, Doom Nation. It's been another Doomed review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Adios.